What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to do a video about my strategy trading microcap cryptocurrencies. If you're not familiar with the term microcap, it's defined as any cryptocurrency that has a market cap of less than $250 million. Most of the coins and tokens that I invest in and trade have less than $1 million market cap. In fact, my most recent purchase was a token on the Waves platform called REN2, and I think the market cap was around, it was less than $50,000 when I got in. But they're very small. They're very high risk, but also very high reward. I'll give you a little background on me. I got into crypto back in December of 2017, not long after McAfee made his infamous tweet about Verge, and so that was, Bitcoin was close to the all-time high of, I think, $19,000 or $20,000 when I got in. So I invested a little bit out of each paycheck. Not more than I could afford to lose for a little while, and built up a small portfolio. But I rode the market down from the top, basically. It was kind of bad timing, but it is what it is. It's been a learning experience for me personally. The gains that I did get at times were not much, 10, 15%, 20% here and there. And then, of course, Bitcoin would drop and those gains would bleed out and they'd be gone. I think my best trade on Binance was Zilliqa. Zill. I bought in, I think it was around the 700 or 800 sat mark, and it eventually, over a week or two, went up to, I think it was around 2,400 sats. I took some profits, but not what I should have. And of course it went back down to, at one point it was, I think, 500 sats when I looked at it. But that's not, I don't trade the larger coins now and tokens because, sure, if you have a large initial investment that you can put into something, 20 and 30% gains can be a good little chunk of money. If you're putting in $1,000 into a coin and it goes up 30%, that's $300. That's a good little chunk of change. But that wasn't the amount that I was working with. Eventually, after months in the bear market, Bitcoin going all the way down to, from 20K down to 6, where it seemed to stay for a long time. Of course, now, earlier when I checked, it was around $3,900 was the price on Bitcoin earlier today. But I found my way into micro cap coins, which are kind of like penny stocks. of the cryptocurrency world. My first micro cap was Electra. Uh, it was on Coins Markets at the time. Somebody had mentioned it, and all these projects that we're investing in were over 100 sats each, and here's this that I didn't even know that coins really went down that low. I knew that there were other exchanges besides Binance. You gotta understand, this was early in my education, for lack of a better word, in cryptocurrency, because it's all a learning process. We all, well, most of us jump head first and we learn as we go, and that was me. And so I invested in Electra. Of course, Coins Markets ended up with too much traffic, and their servers couldn't handle it, and the exchange crashed, and they couldn't get it fixed, and it was a big mess, and I lost money. People lost money. I got my Electra out, but I bought, once I got there, I discovered a few other projects that I purchased and I lost. But anyways, that was just the first of many micro cap debacles that I've been involved in, which I'll get to in a little bit. But after that, I went back to Binance and larger coins because they were safer. And it just my portfolio continued to bleed out. And one day when I was on Twitter, I came across, someone had shared a video by Paddy Stash, is his name on Twitter, PADDYSTASH, and he had made a little video about coins and tokens traded in the Litecoin market, and talking about Litoshis, which is a smaller, it is a fraction of a Litecoin, similar to how a sat is a fraction of a Bitcoin. So he talked about how there's all these, that there's these projects that are trading in the Litecoin markets on exchanges that were, valued at less than a sat, less than one sat, which I didn't even know was possible at the time. But anyways, I got involved or invested in Newton Coin, which at the time was less than a sat. It was, I think, when I got invested in it, I think it was about 32 Litoshis, which at the time, if I remember correctly, 120, 400, somewhere around there, 124 Litoshis equaled one Satoshi. It fluctuates, it varies depending on the price ratio of Litecoin to Bitcoin as to how many Litoshis equal a Satoshi. And so I purchased some Newton coin at 32 Litoshis, and I watched it run all the way up to, I think it was 170, round about that, Litoshis. Just over a sat, a little bit over a sat, not quite. I think actually it did reach, there were sells and buys at 2 sats, but it wasn't me. I didn't sell at that point. I should have, looking back, coulda, woulda, shoulda, hindsight, whatnot. But it was my first taste of that sort of gains on a coin. And, I went on, of course, it corrected hard, as it turns out. But that was my first taste of micro cap massive gain, and I liked it. So things went on, and on down the road, I started following Patty Stash, and joined some micro cap chat rooms on Telegram, and following some micro cap coins on Twitter. And Patty ended up making a call on a coin called, or a token called T-Land, Token Land. I believe it was supposed to be an exchange, decentralized exchange, and it was the token for it, whatever. He called it was at one subsat on Crypto Hub, which I'd never been on Crypto Hub. I'd never even heard of a subsat. I knew there was Litoshis, but I didn't know at the time that there was such a thing as a subsat, which smaller exchanges break down a Satoshi into what's called a sub-Satoshi, which is hundredths of a Satoshi. So he called T-Land at one subsat, which is basically pretty low. It's the lowest Bitcoin value there is. And by the time I got things set up on Crypto Hub and got some, Bitcoin transferred over, I was able to purchase T-Land at two subsats. Well, within, I didn't put much in. I put like $100 worth of Bitcoin into it at two subsats. I'd watched my portfolio on Binance, bleed all the way down to bleed out 70%, So at that point I was like, well, let's gamble a little bit. I can either lose my money slowly, or, I might win here. I saw it happen with Newton Coin. I didn't capitalize on it at the time, but I knew it was possible. So I purchased T-Land at two subsats, and within a couple days it had gone to 10 subsets, and that was five times my initial investment. So that had turned my $100 of Bitcoin into $500 of Bitcoin. And this time I took profits and took out my initial investment. And that I was hooked, And I realized, I started finding out, about the micro cap community and Telegram and Discord and Twitter. And, there's this whole group of people that only really trade these small coins and tokens. It's high risk and high reward. So I then proceeded to invest those profits from T-Land into DART, and I got into DART at two subsats, which a subsat and a Litoshi are pretty close in value. I think a subsat's worth is just a little bit more than a Litoshi. But I was able to purchase, I bought a bunch of DART I had buys from two subsats all the way up to five subsats. And, after a little while, they got listed on Stock Exchange, or STEX as it's called now. And the price just took off. I watched my two subsat purchase, which breaks down to, I think it was one Litoshi. I think every 12 Litoshis at the time equaled 10 subsets. So it was, about 4 Litoshis or whatever. It was a small amount. of Latoshis. I watched it run from, 10 by the time it was listed on Stex. I mean, I could be wrong with that, but I watched it run on Stex all the way up to 46 or 42 Latoshis, and that was a 20x my initial purchase on, 20x and 8x on the 5, because when you start dealing with these microcap coins, your multipliers, you're buying, some at 2 Latoshis and 1 Latoshi, and I'll talk about the waves tokens in a minute. You get those are even smaller increments of dollar amount. A wave Toshi is, I think right now, a wave Toshi, 1 Litoshi equals 20 wave Toshis, I think, is what it was today. It may be a little bit more wave Toshi, or a little bit less wave Toshis equals a Litoshi, because waves was on a run today. But anyway, so I mean, if you got a coin, invested in a coin at 1 Latoshi, you're doubling. You put $100 in at 1 Latoshi. Every time it increases a Latoshi, it doubles that. It's a multiplier, basically. So 2 Latoshis would be a 2x, 3 would be a 3x, 4, onward and onward. So, needless to say, with Dart, it brought my portfolio back to life. I got back everything I had bled out for the last 10 months through Dart. Darex Travel is what it's called. Dart is the ticker. I got it all back. I had made all that money I lost back in Dart. And, while I was in T-Land and Dart, I realized that, I need some sort of strategy, because I'm seeing all these other coins and tokens popping off in these small exchanges, and like I need to get in, move these profits into something and multiply those profits, take profits there, and so on and so on. And I was like, but I need some sort of strategy to it, because Crypto Hub ended up getting hacked. I got all my stuff back from Crypto Hub. They made it right. What happened? Let me adjust this a little bit. It's a little intense. Sorry. Crypto Hub did their best to make it right. So, it's, like I said, it's high risk but high reward. And so I came up with a strategy that I use, and it's well, it depends on when I invest in a microcap coin. The way I find out about them is through Twitter and Telegram. There's a cool thing. One of the guys from some of the coins and the projects that I've invested in, I've seen him in the Telegram rooms. He has an announcement channel on Telegram. His name's CryptJomoon, CryptJomoon, CryptJomoon. And he basically has this channel that announces when coins are listed on these small exchanges like Stex and Waves Dex, and stuff. And so that's a good way to find, stuff to check out. but I read a lot, and you know, people find stuff and they'll share it in these chat rooms and talk about it, and I'll look into it and I'll assess these projects. And when I look into a project, I'm trying to determine the level of risk. Okay, now they're all high risk, but some are higher than others, and that level of risk determines if I do decide I want to invest in this project. The level of risk determines my strategy. Okay, so you know, when I'm looking into a project, I'm checking out, do they have a white paper or a light paper? You know, the thing about these microcap coins is they're not very old. Some of them are a few weeks old. Some of them are a month or two old, but they're not old. They haven't done a lot yet with the project. So sometimes they don't have a white paper or a light paper yet, or a website, and so you have to go off of the team. But if they do have a white paper, a light paper, or a website, you know, I look at that and I'm like, well, how professional do these things look? Are they generic? Are they copy and paste jobs? You know, I look at what the roadmap was coming up, what, you know, basic stuff like, what does this project look to do? You know, is there already 100 projects in the market that do this already? You know, is it disruptive, or is it solving a problem? You know, I look for these sorts of things when I'm assessing the risk and whether or not I'm going to invest in a project. So depending on the level depends on my strategy. I got it printed out here, and you have to forgive me, this is my first video ever, so I may not be doing things to your liking or very good with this software yet, but I'm working on it. It'll get better as I go on, but here is, I got it broken down, my strategy. Okay, let's say I find a project and I decide I am going to invest in it. We'll start with the low or the high, meaning, you know, it's a high risk level, but it's not as risky as some of the other things out there that I've invested in. Something about the project I like, whatever, you know, looks pretty clean. The light paper, the website, the team is, you know, they make appearances on Telegram and Discord, and they talk about the project and they listen to the community. They're transparent. They're not up to shady business, you know. If I like what I see, and I feel fairly confident in the project, this is the strategy I go about. Okay, so we got, say, just for the sake of argument, I'm putting in $100, which right now waves is about $2 a piece, so that'd be 50 waves. And I've for the sake of argument, say this project is listing at 10 wave Toshis, which a wave Toshi is, I think I explained it earlier, it's right now I think it's a little less than 20 wave Toshis equal 1 Latoshi. So for 50 waves at a price of 10 wave Toshis, I can get 500 million tokens. And that's the thing about these market caps, because they're so, micro caps, the market cap is so small, you get a buttload of tokens or coins when you make these purchases. And and there's also supply and things like that go into factor into my decisions on what I'm going to invest in. Some coins have a very, very high supply, but when timing is everything. Even with a very, very high supply, if you get in early at the right time, you can make a killing, with this. So, for example's sake, like I said, 50 waves at 10 wave Toshis gets you 500 million tokens. Okay, so this is my safer strategy. If the project feels safer to me, this is the strategy. I wait for a 5x in price, which happens. Sometimes it can happen, in a week or two. Sometimes it can happen, overnight. It just depends on what kind of hype is behind the project. If it's being shilled on Twitter, all sorts of things factor into the time frame on multipliers, but it's generally pretty quick if you pick the right project. That is, it's pretty quick. If there's a little bit of buzz going around about it when you first get in, not overhyped, but there's a little bit of chatter in the Telegram and whatnot, there's chances are good that you're going to catch some multipliers pretty quick. So when it 5x's in price, that leaves me at, my initial 50 wave investment is now 250 waves, and the price is 50 wave Toshis. So at that point, I will sell 30% at that 5x and get 75 waves for it. Okay? 50 waves was my initial investment, plus that nets me 25 waves profit, and then leaves me with 350 million tokens left. So now those 350 million tokens are what we call a moon bag. Okay? It's all house money. My investment's out plus a little bit of profit. That's house money. Even if, it goes back down below 10, it's still profit. I've already taken out my investment. Everything left is pure profit. So what I do with that 350 million just depends. I'm keeping an eye on what the sentiment is on Twitter and Telegram about this project. If I feel like it's still got legs underneath it and it's still going to run, I'll hold off. I'll hold off till it hits the 10x mark. Then I'll take a little bit more profit at 10x. Maybe take out 25% more or whatever. 20%, because I'm left with 70% of my supply, or my initial purchase. I just break it up, and I don't market buy or market sell. I always place buy and sell orders. I'll do a video later on about buy and sell orders, and how to look at the order book to kind of get an idea of what to sell your buy, or set your buys and your sells at. But that's the lower risk, high risk play. If I feel pretty confident in this token or coin that it could sustain FUD, that the developers aren't going to exit scam, stuff like that. Now if I find a project and I feel like it's a little riskier, higher risk project, I'm trying to get my money out a little quicker, and that's this is the breakdown for that. So same numbers. 50 waves at 10 wave Toshis gets me 500 million tokens. Okay, when it's a high risk situation, I take it out. I take out at the 3x point. Okay. The price, my initial 50 waves is now 150 waves at the 3x mark. It's now worth 30 wave Toshis. Okay, I'm going to sell at the 3x mark. I sell 50%, and that nets me again 75 waves. Okay, so that's 50 waves initial investment plus the 25 waves profit. Now I've got 250 million tokens left. Okay, same thing with those. I'll watch these types of projects a little bit closer, because at any time a developer could exit scam, whatever could happen. I've watched a few people on Twitter, a few Twitter personalities almost cripple, projects with FUD. It happened to Dart. Dart is one of those projects that you either love it or you hate it. Regardless, I made money off of it, and what they do in the future, I'm not, who knows? We'll see what happens, but I made money. People, the FUD in the microcap community has more of an impact because you can buy such a large portion of the circulating supply for a little bit of money. People can manipulate the price easier. They can crash the price easier. One person could dump into an order book on buys and just drive, that 3x price that you'd reached, one person can drive it back down to the original price, so that's why it's high risk, but it's also high reward. And I think I'll make a video about how I do buy and sell orders and things here soon. I'm also going to talk about a couple of projects that I'm in, like Kubo Coin or Kubo Gold. They're about to swap and to the Ethereum blockchain here on December 16th, and they've got an airdrop coming. And I've been in Kubo Gold for a long time, almost since the beginning. It was a couple days old, I think, when I got invested, and it's done well for me. It's has its ups and downs. Like today, it's down. Today's a good time to get invested in it. But anyways, I'm gonna do a review on that project. Nunez, the CEO, is a solid dude, so I like that project. We'll see what happens. This is my first video, and if you guys if you like what you heard, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up. If you have any additions, comments, whatever, put them in. If I said something wrong, let me know. Everybody makes mistakes. I'm man enough to admit them, and I'll go back in and make a correction or whatever. I don't know. Just yeah, hit me up. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you next time.